Well, let's introduce Pastor Chris Sands, who is a youth pastor at Olivet Baptist Church. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Scott, how you doing today?
I am doing great, and I thank you so much for your time to come on here today. I know from talking with you how busy you are. Let's talk a little bit. We have had, Rabbi Craig Lewis mentioned you and in glowing terms. So we had to reach out and look you up. And I tell you, as I've been researching you, you have been a busy man.
Yes, sir.
COVID-19's hit. How is the church? First of all, how's the church dealing with that? What are you all doing?
Well, first, Scott, thank you so much for having me today. I'm honored to be on Nooga Connection today. And thank you to Pastor, I call it what Pastor, excuse me, Rabbi Lewis, and for the
That
great
works.
honors. And so I'm grateful to be on here. But the church has been instrumental in a lot of the things that have been taking place during COVID-19. Not only have we been in the heart and in the midst of the pandemic, but also a couple of months ago, remember, there was also a tornado that stormed through Chattanooga, and several of our members were hit by that as well. So Olivet has been on the forefront of serving since the pandemic has happened. And it has been one of those things where we really get to become what I call the hands and feet of Jesus. We're not just talking about church, we're actually being the church. And it's been absolutely amazing to be able to do that. But not only that, we also have had COVID testing here. So
Oh, wow.
we have actually had COVID testing with Simple Community and various other partners where, excuse me, we brought testing to the church. And after people got tested, we also gave out pizza and we gave out food, produce boxes to families that were in need. So we're literally being the Great Commission, what I would like to call it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So Olivet Baptist Church has been a bright beacon in this community for a long, long time. You have a very dynamic uh, senior pastor at your church. But I want to tell you, I want to get into a little bit about this. You were saying that you gave out produce. You're doing a lot of community projects. Can you share some more with us? I understand you giving out backpacks and helping the
Yes,
homeless.
sir.
Can we touch on that just a little bit?
Yes, sir. So my Bishop Kevin Adams, I always want to honor my man of God. He has a vision for people. He loves people so much so that it has been intrinsically inclined into the culture and the climate of our church that we serve people as well. So we literally have fed every Saturday anywhere between 600 to 1,000 people on Saturdays. We were feeding before COVID happened. We were feeding 5 times a week to the homeless. They would come in and get a hot meal. They'll get a word, and then if we whatever needs we could meet, we will meet those needs as much as possible. So that is the culture and the climate of our church. But not only that, we also have an education component where we want to make sure that our young people are equipped, our young adults are equipped, and we even doing some things for those who need their GED or high school equivalent. So our hands and feet are literally engulfed and ingrained in service.
Yeah, and reading your bio, I mean, your bio on the church's website, you're all about reaching out to people regardless of age, race,
Yes.
background. I mean, you are I don't think any of us are colorblind, but I believe that from what I've learned about you, you tend to try to be as colorblind as possible in your approach to the Great Commission.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so let's talk a little bit about this, Chris. We got this the Black Lives Matter movement, and a lot of folks that are not from the Black community, they some understand, some don't understand. Uh,
Yes.
Gosh, why does I thought all lives matter? Because the church, I mean, you and I know. So I've told you I'm also Southern Baptist, but you and I know
Yes,
that the
sir.
church is not the four walls and the beautiful building and the choir. Tell us what the
Yes.
church is.
The church is going after the one. I think a lot of times we negate to read our Bibles and we forget stories where Um, we say we're Christians, but we don't understand that all lives does matter. But also in Luke 15, when you have the opportunity and you read Luke 15, the shepherd left the 99 and went after the one. The one was just as important as the 99. And a lot of times we forget that. It's not that the 99 wasn't great, but the one was just as important. And I don't want us to ever forget that, all lives does matter. But right now, we need to be discussing what is taking place with Black Lives Mattering. If you look at the media, if you look at the news, when you look at what's going on in our society and our world, what the world is just now being recognized to is what a lot of us have been experiencing for millennials, for millennia. So it's very important for us to have an understanding of why it's important to understand what is really taking place right now. And I also will say this before we stop on this. My goal is for people who don't really understand to come serve, come find out how to serve and listen to people who may not look like you, may not have your background, and really understand what others are going through. So
So
yeah.
I definitely want to get into that. Let's get into that at the end because I think that's an important topic. But I want to talk a little bit more
Yes.
about the Black Lives Matter. So I have had a lot of conversations with what I do, and some people saying, "Well, how do you love someone who hates you?" And so you have certain pockets of people who are not in the Black community that think that they are hated, and so Black Lives Matter. You don't. That's not the message. I know that's not the message. But how do we? Let's talk about that because this is you're the first person that I can actually ask this to, who is feet on the ground, who can maybe help those of out there who don't understand. Black Lives Matter is not about exclusion. It's not about hate. And when you get the person that says, "Well, how am I supposed to love you when all I hear is that you hate me?" Can you talk a little bit about that with us, Chris?
Yeah. That's a really good question, Scott. I think that is a undiagnosed preconceived notion that some people may have. A lot of times we have our own biases that we already put up a fence or a wall, and do we really make ourselves vulnerable enough to really get outside of our spaces to figure out the differences between us? Because truth be told, if we actually go to the heart of the root of certain matters, we'll discover this. Number one, need doesn't have a color. Poverty doesn't have a color. So a lot of times, um, when we all we're accustomed to is our circle, that's all we see. It's not until we get outside of our circles and get into different spaces where we see people who are different and start building relationships. That's the key part. If we never build relationships or find people that we can ask real questions to, there will always be these unprecedented preconceived notions in our mind that we think people are against us when really they might just be having a bad moment, or that might be just the demeanor on their face. It doesn't mean they don't want to talk to you, but have we really reached out to see what is it that I can do to lend a hand or ask questions, if that makes sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you don't just talk the talk. You walk the walk. You're out there reaching out to all people. So
Yes.
you read some of these opinions, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there's someone who writes a lot of opinions, and something I keep seeing is, well, we're told that Black Lives Matter, and they do, but why is there so much black on black crime in this community? Why is there so many young Black men murdering each other?
Mhm.
What would be your response to that? I don't think because there's one huge problem that changes the conversation, but how would you respond to that person that keeps putting that out there? Well, if Black Lives Mattered, why are we getting so much black on black violent crime?
Are we really having a whole lot of black on black crime? Are we really doing that, or are we
That's a
highlighting
that's
a
a good
particular
question.
segment? Are we really what we're talking about right now? I wish we had a whole lot of time because I'm giving you surface on purpose because of time. But when we
Okay.
go deep and start intrinsically looking at why people are where they are and why people do what they do, I think the conversation is needed to be had on more than one occasion to be able to have a great context of what it is that people are dealing with. So let me try to give you a little clarity of where I'm coming from with this. So say, for instance, Scott, and I hope this makes sense. When the media a lot of times want to get your attention to focus on one particular thing, you hear it long enough, if it's true or not, you start to believe something about it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, it's just what you're being fed. Truth be told, there are segments of people who really, there's more crime in other ethnicities that never really get heard about per se, because we've been focused on, and the media has taught us to really focus on this when really it's only like less than 5%, but we highlight it and we magnify it, and we make people afraid of people who potentially look like me because of a small sect of people who have done certain things. My
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
then
So,
is, go ahead.
well, no, and I really think that you're making a good point. We complain about the media, and yet we believe the segments of stories that we hear. So, like lately, there's been a tremendous mess in Chicago. I can't even figure out. I lived in Kankakee outside of Chicago, and I'm so grateful that
Yes.
I'm not, not in that area anymore. But
Yeah.
when you see something like going on in Chicago, what does that do as a believer, and when someone has a heart
Yeah.
for people like you do and like your
Yeah.
bishop does? What do you, when you look at Chicago, what do you think? Do you think, is there anything we can do for them? I mean, this is such a broad question. I don't even know what the good answer would be. But Chris, I'm just wondering, how does that impact you, a lover of people, a lover of the Black community?
Yeah.
What do you do? What
Yeah.
do you think? What's going on up there?
Let me say this: Black lives does matter. Black on black crime is real, but so is crime. Period. Bringing attention now to what's going on. It was Frederick Douglass that said, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." There are a lot of broken men who are dealing with issues and traumas and dealing with not having enough, and being in certain communities where you are a creature of habit, and based on whatever environment you grow up in, sometimes you will make choices based on the environment that you're in. And me being a lover of people, I don't have the expanded reach to reach everybody, but here it is: we cannot make impact without contact. So until we go out and really get to understand why, then we'll always have what is going on. You know what I'm saying? We'll always have this mindset of, it's this crime, and things of that nature. But if we start building up our young people and giving them new ways to create, both black, white, and different, if we allow, I would say it this way, you can only grow to the level that you're exposed to. If we can get young people and other adults exposed to different cultures, it will change our paradigm. It will change the way that we see people, and it'll change the way
Ah,
that we love. Yeah. So that's why service is so important to me, because, like I said earlier, when you're serving someone genuinely from your heart, color doesn't matter, status quo doesn't matter. And we begin to figure out that we're more alike than we realize. Melanin,
you
we're
know,
all people. It's just we're the human race.
what you just said there, because this is a recorded segment, I hope people listen to it more than once. There is a lot to unpack with what you just said. I have told you and shared with you that I served a lot of years in the military, and I think no organization is perfect, but as far as being integrated, the military is about as integrated an organization as I've ever been involved in. I also told you I did criminal defense work in Athens, Georgia. And of my thousands of clients, the vast majority were African American. And I did get a feel for what's going on in the community. I got a feel where I would meet this drug dealer, had this incredible organization. I would say, you're an incredible marketer. You're an incredible leader of men. Why are you not doing something worthwhile? And without fail, I'd get the same response. You going to hire me? Who's going to hire me? I don't have an education.
Absolutely.
I don't have the background I need. Wow, that's heavy what you just told us. Let's talk about service. Chris, since you and I have been talking, you've asked me numerous times and used the term service and even asked me to come and to Olivet Baptist Church to serve. That is obviously your passion. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's make some invitations. What if we had every listener from this program and all their family come to Olivet Baptist, knock on the doors and say, Pastor Chris, what can we do? Tell me, why does that matter? What will that do?
That's a great question, Scott. We'll understand community better once we serve the community. Not just one time, not just twice, but actually really finding ways to serve in various communities that we're not accustomed to serving in. So, for instance, this Saturday from 9 until 1, we're going to be serving 600 to 1,000 produce boxes again. And if you want to come serve this Saturday, come see the different people. It'll change your perspective. Why? Because of the fact that, like I said earlier, need doesn't have a color, poverty doesn't have a color, but it's important that we really reach people. That's how we build community. That's how we build and bridge gaps. That's how we get the resources that we need to make Chattanooga stronger. And there are people from every walk of life that, we should be able to build relationships with and say, what can we do for the city of Chattanooga to strengthen it so that we can be the best city that we possibly can? That's why service is important to our church and why service is important to me.
And that's what we should be doing. Chris, this has been a really terrific segment, and I appreciate what you've said and what your perspective is. I do think that a lot of distrust is driven by fear. And as you said, when you serve alongside somebody, that fear is going to dissipate and you're going to understand that that's a human being. I never feared my clients. I'll tell you one more story before I let you go. I know we've gone long. I was at a gas station in a particularly difficult neighborhood, particularly frightening neighborhood, pumping gas one evening. I'd just been talking with a client and it was a bad case. And I was in this neighborhood already and a little fearful, let's be honest. Car pulls up beside me and doesn't park at the gas pump. And out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody get in. I'm like, oh no. And I'm thinking, well, if they try to attack me, I guess I can just squirt them with gasoline. I don't know what else to do. And I heard this deep voice and said, Scott, what are you doing out here? This is dangerous. It was this huge man, African-American, one of my clients. He says, I'm going to stay there with you. I'm going to stay here with you till you're done pumping gas.
Wow.
He knew me. It was relationships. He didn't look at a white lawyer. He looked at a guy he knew. I think that, like you said, we serve together. We get to know each other. That removes so many of their barriers. Chris, I thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Keep it up, and you will see me out there, sir. And I'm going to pop you on the shoulder and say, here I am. Put me to work.
Scott, I love it. Thank you so much for having me today.
Tell me how to find information about this, what you guys are doing, and how to get involved.
Yes, sir. You can go to our church website, www.olivetbaptistchurch.org, or you can download our church app at Olivet Baptist Church and get all our information, or you can call the church at 423-266-8709. We would love to get information. We have a lot of things that we are doing here in the community that we can get everybody plugged into. So we're grateful for it.
Thank you, Chris. Much respect, my friend.
Yes, same here. Thank you, Scott.
Please like and share this video. Like our page, subscribe to our channel, and we're also available as a podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Listen to Nooga Connection while you're running, driving, or just relaxing. Are you on Twitter? Follow us at Nooga Connection. Nooga Connection is sponsored by my law firm, the Davis Firm. I spent 15 of my 26 years working for insurance companies on the dark side. Put that experience to work for you. Protect yourself, protect your family. Look me up on www.noogalaw.com or call 423-756-3591.